Hi, my name is Jordan Riegler, and the title of my book is Separate is Never Equal, Sylvia Mendez and Her Family's Fight for Desegregation, written by Duncan Tonatia. This book is considered narrative nonfiction because it focuses on Sylvia Mendez and her family's fight for educational justice, has a chronological sequence structure, and conveys illustrations of a real-life experience. This book tells the story of Sylvia Mendez, a young girl of Mexican and Puerto Rican heritage whose family challenged school segregation in California during the 1940s. After being denied enrollment at a whites-only school, her parents filed a lawsuit, known as Mendez versus Westminster, and eventually ended school segregation for Mexican-American children in California. One of the interesting things I learned while reading was that this book took place before the famous case of Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. As we see, this book took place in 1945. Brown versus Board of Education declared school segregations to be unconstitutional in all schools across the nation. This case, Brown versus Board, has been taught to me many times in classes before, but I've never heard of the Mendez case or their story before last week when I used this book for a different presentation, even though to me they basically paved the way for desegregation within schools, whether it was for African American children or any children of color. Another thing I learned was that even though she spoke English and that Sylvia was even born in the U.S. as described on this page, Sylvia was still denied admission just because of her last name and skin color. This really showed me, and I feel like it would show others, that segregation affected so many other communities of color, even though the stories might not have been told and been mainstream. I chose this book, Separate is Never Equal, because not only is the case that something everyone should learn about, but it displays a powerful message for kids for what a real, true hero can be. This leads into what my favorite thing about the book was, the message. The message shows that any child, regardless of their background, race, or family history, can see that any child or their family can shape our history. The story's themes of fairness, equality, and standing up for what's right are deeply relevant not just today in today's classrooms, but in the entire world around us. And it should push anyone, not just students, but teachers and anybody alike to read this book in particular. I could integrate this book into my classroom during a read aloud unit. I could have an entire unit about civil rights and equality during the 20th century and read aloud different books from different races and diversities that fought against those struggles during that time period. At the end of the unit, we could compare and contrast the ideals, the morals, and the outcomes of each of the stories we read and see how it's not one person's story is the same, but they've all changed history one way or another. Thank you.